The sun was slipping into the horizon when our small seaplane began to shake. At first it was a light tremor, just enough for the pilot to curse under his breath. But within seconds, the tremor turned into violent shaking that ripped my seatbelt tight across my chest. "Ethan, this isn't normal," Mia shouted from the seat beside me, her fingers gripping my arm. "I know, hold on." The pilot yelled something, but before the words could reach us, a deafening roar erupted as the engine exploded into sparks. The world spun in a blur of sky and ocean. We were thrown sideways, weightless for a terrifying moment, and then, impact. Cold water swallowed us. I fought the current, grabbing Mia's hand, pulling her toward a piece of wreckage floating nearby. She clung to it, coughing, trembling, her long hair plastered to her face. The remains of the plane sank behind us, leaving only silence and endless blue. Hours later, after drifting in circles, we spotted land, a small island dark with trees. Exhausted, we kicked our way toward it until the sand finally met our knees. Mia collapsed beside me, breathing hard. We survived," she whispered. "Barely. We dragged ourselves to the tree line before night fell. The jungle around us buzzed with insects, the air thick with humidity. I gathered broken branches while Mia tried to wring seawater from her clothes. "You're shaking," I said. "So are you," she answered softly. I built a small fire. The warm glow lit her face, dirt-streaked, frightened, and still somehow beautiful. She wrapped her arms around herself, staring into the flames. "Ethan, do you think anyone's coming for us?" I hesitated. "I hope so. But until then, we survive. Together." She nodded slowly, then looked at me with an expression I had never seen on her before. Vulnerable, raw, honest. "You know," she whispered, "I always thought I was strong, independent, untouchable, but here I'm just a woman." I raised my head, confused. "Mia." She leaned closer, her voice trembling but certain. "And you're what I want." The words froze me. This was Mia, the woman who never let anyone close, who hid behind sarcasm and ambition. But now, stranded together on a deserted island with nothing but a fire and fear between us, all her walls were gone. "Mia," I breathed, "this isn't the time." Her eyes locked onto mine, steady and unafraid. "This is exactly the time." And the night seemed to hold its breath. For a long moment, the fire crackled between us, its flickering light dancing over Mia's face. Her confession still hung in the air, heavy and impossible to ignore. I opened my mouth to respond, but a distant howl echoed through the jungle, snapping both of us back to reality. Mia stiffened. "What was that?" "Nothing, we want to meet," I said quietly. "We need shelter before the fire dies." She swallowed hard and nodded. We gathered palm leaves and branches, working side by side. Every snap of a twig made her jump. Every rustle in the bushes made her cling a little closer to me. And yet she never complained. Not once. When our makeshift shelter was finally done, we crawled inside. It wasn't much, just enough leaves to block rain and wind. But it was something. Mia hugged her knees, her wet clothes sticking to her skin. I kept my eyes on the entrance, alert. "Ethan," she whispered, "are we going to be okay?" "Yes," I said, because she needed certainty, even if I didn't have any. "I won't let anything happen to you." That answer seemed to settle something in her. She leaned her head on my shoulder, not boldly but quietly, like she'd finally allowed herself to trust me. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. The jungle hummed with night sounds, chirping insects, distant waves, the crackle of the last embers of our fire. "I keep thinking," she murmured, "if the plane hadn't crashed, I never would have said any of that." "I know," I said softly. "And I never would have let myself feel it." That made me turn to her. "Mia," I said gently, "you're scared. We both are. Maybe that's why—" "No," she cut in, her voice trembling with truth. "I've been trying to say it for months, I just never had the courage." I stared at her, stunned. On any normal day, Mia was a force of nature, sharp, confident, untouchable. But here, stripped of everything, she was human, honest, real. And that honesty wrapped itself around my chest like a fist. Before I could reply, a sharp crack echoed outside. Mia grabbed my arm. "Something's out there." I held my breath, listening. Footsteps, slow, heavy, getting closer. "Mia," I whispered, pulling her behind me. "Stay low." The leaves outside shifted. And then a shadow moved. Our nightmare on the island was just beginning. The shadow loomed just beyond the entrance of our shelter, tall and unmoving. Mia clutched the back of my shirt, trembling so hard I could feel it through the fabric. I raised the only weapon we had, a thick branch I'd sharpened on a rock earlier. The footsteps stopped. For a breathless moment, the jungle went silent. Even the insects seemed to hold their breath. Something exhaled. A deep, rough sound, not human. Mia's nails dug into my arm. "Ethan, what is that?" "Stay behind me," I whispered, my heart pounding so loud I was sure the creature could hear it. The shadow moved again, slow, heavy, and then finally stepped into the firelight. Mia gasped. It wasn't a monster. It was a wild boar, massive, its fur bristled and eyes glowing in the fading firelight. Its tusks curved upward like knives. It stared at us, sniffing the air, drawn by the scent of the fruits Mia had gathered earlier. "Mia," I whispered, "don't move." She didn't. She barely breathed. The boar's hooves scraped against the ground as it took 2 steps closer. My grip tightened around the branch. If it charged, we'd have seconds, maybe less. The boar snorted, lowering its head. Mia whimpered. I had no choice. With a shout, I stepped forward and swung the branch as hard as I could. It smashed against the boar's snout. The animal reeled back, squealing angrily. "Run!" I yelled. Mia didn't hesitate. We bolted from the shelter, sprinting barefoot over roots and sand as the boar crashed through the leaves behind us, tearing apart everything in its path. Mia stumbled, but I grabbed her hand, pulling her along. The jungle was a maze of shadows, branches tearing at our skin, adrenaline fueling every desperate step. "We're not going to make it," she cried. "Yes, we will." Ahead, I spotted a fallen tree trunk jutting over a rocky slope. "Climb!" I shouted. We scrambled onto it just as the boar charged again, but this time it overshot, its massive weight carrying it down the rocky incline. It tumbled, crashing and squealing, until it disappeared into the brush below. Silence. Only our ragged breaths remained. Mia clung to me, burying her face in my chest. "I thought we were going to die," she whispered, her voice shaking. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close as the fear slowly melted into exhaustion. "We're alive," I murmured into her hair. "I'm not letting anything take you, not now, not ever." She looked up at me, eyes wide, vulnerable, and full of something deeper. And in that moment, on that broken tree above the moonlit jungle, everything between us changed. The night settled over the island in a velvet hush, broken only by the soft crash of waves and the rustling of palm leaves. Our small fire crackled between us, throwing flickering shadows across her face. For the first time since we were stranded, Maya looked unsure. Her confidence, the sharp, intimidating kind she always carried, seemed to soften around the edges. I watched her poke the fire with a stick, her jaw tight, her eyes refusing to meet mine. Something was off. "Maya," I said gently, "you've been quiet all evening. What's going on?" She exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding her breath for hours. "I'm scared," she admitted. The words hit me harder than the storm that wrecked our boat. Maya, the woman who faced down danger with a smirk, was afraid. "Scared of what?" I asked. She hesitated, her fingers curling into the sand. "Of tomorrow, of rescue not coming, of us." I blinked. "Us?" Finally, she looked up. Her green eyes reflected the firelight, shimmering with emotions she usually guarded like secrets. "I keep telling myself this island has changed nothing," she whispered. "But everything's changed. I'm not the same woman who boarded that boat." I swallowed, my heart suddenly pounding. "What are you trying to say?" She shifted closer, the warmth of her body mixing with the heat of the flames. "Back home, I was always in control, always calculating. But here, I see you differently." Her voice dropped. "And it scares me how much I want you." Her confession left the air trembling between us. I'd felt the pull, too. The connection growing stronger with every shared hardship, every laugh, every argument, every quiet moment when she let her walls down. But hearing her say it out loud, "Maya," I said softly, "wanting someone isn't something to be afraid of." She gave a shaky laugh. "Says the man who acts like nothing touches him." I reached forward, brushing a stray leaf out of her hair. "Plenty touches me, you just never gave me space to show it." Her breath caught. For a moment, we just stared at each other, the world shrinking to the glow of the fire and the sound of our own hearts beating. Then slowly, almost hesitantly, she leaned in. "We don't know what tomorrow brings," she whispered. "But tonight, I know exactly what I want." And before I could reply, she closed the space between us.